Perfect. Perfect. The Dowmans are in Africa. As we sit and speak and see the light of all corners, we spread light, and light comes back to us in beautiful ways. And here to help us even more understand that is Jay Pryor, our guest speaker for today.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's nice to be with you all today. As she said, my name is Jay Pryor. If you don't know me, I'm a lay member of this congregation, and I'm also a business consultant and a coach and a trainer, and recently a comedian and a performer. So who knew that was going to come out of me? But it did. Thanks, buddy. One of my favorite things to do is to get an opportunity to speak here. I speak a lot. I'm a keynote speaker. I have one of my biggest stages is coming up here in early October. I'm going to get to speak to 1,100 women at a conference. It's my biggest conference yet. So I'm super excited about that. Thank you. I'm really thrilled about that. And I love to speak here because you're my people. and I learned everything I know about being a metaphysician and New Thought right here in this congregation or from you. So it is always a joy to come here and be able to give that back to you and to talk about spirit. So in my work, I have a book called Lean Inside, and in my work, I fold in New Thought principles inside of coaching principles because they work hand in hand together. And one of the things I often and always talk about in my signature process is yourself. And the reason I wanted to talk about that is because how much and how often do we hear that you should believe in yourself, or put yourself first, or all these things about yourself, and it's like, what the hell is that? Like, what is yourself? I don't even know what that is. And so I was sitting in my office one day, and I was trying to come up with a name for that, what Unity calls your Christ consciousness, or that part that's always there, but it just never, didn't like that phrase. And I was thinking about the self, and I picked up my pen and I wrote down spiritually evolved loving friend. And I will tell you that my first time I did that, I had a little gag reflex happen after that. I was like, that is so cheesy. I don't know if I can ever say that out loud to anyone. And the reason I think that came out is I had been reading the book Spiritual Intelligence by Cindy Wigglesworth, and I love that book, and I believe so strongly in her principles of spiritual intelligence. Her definition of spiritual intelligence is acting with wisdom and compassion in every situation all the time. Now, wouldn't you love to be that, right? And so what I know is it's an ever-evolving process of mine and the people I coach and work with to access our own spiritual intelligence in this world of humanity. And so often in Unity, we talk about the fact that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And so I wanted to talk today a little bit about what is the self and how does that enter into your thoughts about us being a spiritual being. So I wanted to, first of all, see if we could come up with some adjectives or words that you come up with when you hear the word spiritual being. When I say spiritual being, what comes up for you? What is a spiritual being? What is that for you?
Light.
Light? Someone said light.
Eternal. Alive.
Alive. What else?
Friend.
Friends. Thanks, Emma. What else?
Seeker.
Seeker. Connection. Love. Eternal.
Energy.
Wise.
Energy.
Fantastic. Now here's the question. How many of you, when you think of yourself, you think of all those words? No? Well, why not? I am shocked by that. Why would that be? That you don't think of those spiritual being words when it's about you. So one of the things that I figured out early on, and then one of my favorite things to do is I'm on my own journey and I'm figuring these things out and I come up with something of my own, and then I read a master teacher that they've already been talking about that. And I'm like, well, I'm on the right track. I've got it going on. And so when I first started in this work and identifying myself, my higher self is what I like to call it, one of the things that I noticed was that Charles Fillmore in doing my research, found out that Charles Fillmore, one of our founding principles, is one of the first people that ever said that as our human experience, we can't say things to us that don't resonate as truth. That's my words, that's the way I say it. I think Charles formed it differently. But essentially, it's that idea that when we're trying to affirm something powerful to ourselves, and we use affirmations and denials in here as tools in unity. And often what happens is, I hear someone up here and they'll have you do this. Say, I am a powerful being. Can everybody say that? I am a powerful being. And I just know there's somebody in the audience going, bullshit, right? Like that. I think that's just crap, right? No, right? Because it doesn't resonate with your belief system. Right? And I call that your BS, is your belief system, and it sets off your BS meter. And that's the first thing that happens. And we can feel that, right? Now what I want you to get is the fact that you can feel that, right, and that there's a resonance with you, also lends to that idea that you're a spiritual, that energy that we talked about before that you couldn't resonate yourselves with. The fact that you can feel that it doesn't fit tells me that you're that energetic being, tells me that you are that self, yes? And so what I do in my work is I have people start out with something they can believe, right? If I'm having somebody work on finances, and all their talk about finances, human beings have a tendency to focus on what we don't want. It's one of those natural default modes of human being. So when we're trying to change something, often humans will focus on all the things that are wrong about that. We focus on what doesn't work. So if someone's trying to get out of debt, for example, they may walk around talking about how broke they are, right? Or how they'll never get out of debt. It feels so heavy and they can never, and that's their focus, right? And what we know is what we focus on always expands. And so if you're focusing on the debt, guess what gets bigger, right? The debt. And so it's interesting to me to try to shift that. And what I do is I have people start baby stepping out a conversation that has to start with, you know what, you can't tell someone who's overwhelmed with debt, right? I've got somebody overwhelmed with debt and all the emotions that comes along with that, some of the intense anxiety, grief, disappointment, anger, all those things that goes along with a lot of debt, and then I come along and say, you know what, just look in the mirror and say, I'm financially prosperous, right? That just has them go, all right? It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And so what I do is I try to baby step out a conversation for them. And I have them start with moving towards what they want. So if they want to be financially prosperous, in the end we want to be able to say our end game is I am financially prosperous, but I don't believe that. I have to start out with something like I'm on the right path, or I've started a new journey, or I'm open to, right? Something like that. And we start affirming that first. And so today, I have a strong desire for all of you to leave today with something new that you're speaking to yourself about yourself. So what I want for you is to know, and have a knowing that there is a power within you that is greater than any circumstance before you. There's a power within you that is greater than any circumstance before you. Now, if I say that, and some of you are like, nah, I don't buy it, right? Then there's something that is, there's something in between there that we want to clean out. And most of it is the fact that you've been gathering evidence and practicing something else for a long time. As humans, what we do is we decide something, like we decide that I am good at math, and then I can give you evidence all day to support that, right? Or I'm bad at relationships, and I'll give you evidence all day long to support that I can't even manage myself in a relationship. I should never do relationships. I shouldn't do that. And many people have told me that, and then they have evidence. They have evidence. They can tell you, well, I know this because I was in a relationship and it went bad and it was my fault, right? So their past and your past is always your evidence of what is your truth in this moment. And what I say is that what we know about ourselves is that we actually get to create whatever truth we want. We just have to decide we can do it and then start speaking it and acting it and gathering evidence until it's the truth. So I want to share with you a little bit something that I've been doing recently, and I just mentioned that I wrote a comedy show. I wrote a one-human show. To me, even saying it, I start to laugh, because I'm like, no, you didn't. Like, no, you didn't. Because it's one of those things that I have had in my head and wanted to do for years, but I have been too afraid, and afraid of things like, how arrogant of you. Like, how could you are so arrogant. My God, who do you think you are? You writing a show. You don't know anything about that stuff. You're crazy. Like that kind of conversation, right? It's always kind of usurped me going ahead and moving forward to fulfilling on this. For me, it was a dream to do comedy since I've been in 5th grade. Right? Writing that show to me was a promise to my 5th grade self that I would actually do it. And I had to write myself a note. There's a guy that I chose my baby step to be this guy in town who's a theater guy, and I was just going to go show him some stuff and see, should I keep doing this or should I not? And I didn't even tell my wife about it. I didn't tell no one about this. Sometimes I think that when we have something really precious to us, we gotta keep it here, right? Keep it here between you and your spirit guides sometimes, because it's tender for you. And so I didn't even tell Jessica about it at all. I just went and talked to this guy, and his name happens to be Will. And so I had to put a note. I put a note up in my office that said, will you do it? And what I was asking myself is, will you not sell out on yourself this time? Will you not sell out on yourself this time? Because I assert, and in my book we call that ongoing dialogue that's chattering at you constantly, we call that your small in my work, because it's always right there, ready to tell you everything you can't handle. It's always going to tell you how your complaints and all your stuff, it's going to be right there. And so my small often would get in the way of me fulfilling on this thing. And so this note to myself was like, will you do it? Will you please, for the love, go do this thing that you've wanted to do for a long time now? And I kept that sign up in my office as a note and a reminder to myself that I had promised myself that I would do this. And what I assert is often when we are focused on that, what we call it, Buddhists call it monkey mind, mind chatter, whatever you want to call it, that never-ending dialogue, Eckhart Tolle calls it the madness of human being. I think it's very accurate. The madness of human being. That ongoing dialogue, if I would listen to that, I would have just been like, it's fine, I'm not going to do that, and I would have just put it aside. But this thing, I think, has us sell out on ourselves more than anybody else. I mean, I do believe that as humans, we've got probably, all of us, I know I do, have things I've done in the past, transgressions I've, trespassed against others, and the ones that keep me from that, what I call yourself, are really the trespasses against myself. There's the times I have sold out of myself when I thought, I want to do this thing, and I either chickened out, or I didn't do it because I didn't think I was good enough, or I was scared to do it. And there's something incredibly powerful about being able to break through that and do it anyway. And what I've found is, when I get to the other side of that, and I've done it many times in my life now, I'm somebody who does that. I'm a daredevil, for lack of a better word. I'm a big risk taker. So I do that a lot. What I find is that what I get on the other side is not ever what I think is going to be. I think I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to write the show and I'm going to be so excited and it's going to be like, fireworks. And instead, when I get to the other side, there's just this, oh. And there's this peace that I don't know any other way to say it. It's a level of peace and contentment because it's almost like I feel like I have aligned myself. And that alignment is so powerful. It's just, there's no better place to be for me than in that world of I am in alignment with being true to myself. Being true to myself. And so today, I want you to, I'm going to do a couple of affirmations with you here in a second. And I want to, for just yourself, this isn't in front of anybody else, I want you to, as we do these, I want you to check in with your BS meter. right? How real is this? And how does this fit for you? So the first one, again, is my favorite affirmation that I always try to monitor, and Jessica helps me remember this if I get stressed out, because I do believe this, and that is that there's a power within me that is greater than any circumstance before me. Can you say it? There's a power within me that is greater than any circumstance before me. One more time, there's a power within me that is greater than any circumstance before me. You don't have to tell me. I just want you to check in with yourself. Like, how do you believe that? Like, do you believe it? Is that really true for you? And if it's not, don't make yourself wrong. I just want you to think about backing that up a little bit. Like, finding something that you can say to yourself that is like that. Like, I am open to believe that there's a power within me that is greater than any circumstance before me. Some of you maybe need to go there. I am open to believe that there's a power great within me that is greater than any circumstance before me. It's a baby step. Some of you, that might be too big. Might be, I'm barely willing to believe. It might be where you are. Wherever you are, don't make it wrong. Right? Wherever you are, if you could just let yourself be there and be tender and gentle with yourselves, this is becoming someone who is in tune with your higher self. What's interesting is, as humans, what we do is we'll listen to this, what I call your small, and then instead of approaching it with our higher selves and being kind to it and, letting it do what it needs to do, we go, shut up! And we beat it up, right? We get really violent with ourselves around that. Guess what that does? That builds resistance. And what we know as metaphysicians is what you resist. Nice work. Very well done. Because we know, we're metaphysicians, we know about this. We know that what we resist persists. And so when we beat ourselves up or we come at that small with anger or with violence, that's resistance. And it's a backwards energy. And so it just keeps things in play. So that's the first affirmation I want to give you, and just ask you to see where you resonate with that. And if you don't resonate, if it's not the truth, back it up, right? Just back it up a little bit. And maybe this week you can ponder that. So the next affirmation I want to ask you is just a very simple one. I wholeheartedly believe in myself. I wholeheartedly believe in myself. One more time. I wholeheartedly believe in myself. Now, some of you, again, BS, right? That is not the truth. And so, again, all we have to do is back it up. That's all you have to do. Back it up. I'm open to believing in myself. I'm willing to start believing in myself. I'm going to. I am willing to. Now that we have the words, we have to start putting in actions that make those words true so that we can feel them and believe in them. Because I know that you have so much evidence for all those other negative things you think about yourself. You can gather evidence all day long. Every interaction you have with another person might be evidence that you don't love yourself or that you don't believe in yourself. And so we have tons of evidence over there. So now we have to start building evidence toward, I wholeheartedly believe in myself, toward, there's a power greater within me that's greater than any circumstance before me. Now for me, what that looks like is sometimes doing stuff that scares me. Right? By believing in myself, there's a little bit of I want to stretch myself just a little bit. And I believe in taking baby steps, right? Just little tiny baby steps. But if I was going to ask you, what would there be one thing, and again, you don't have to say it out loud, but if there was one thing I could assign you, if I was your coach, if I could assign you something that might be something you could do that would prove to yourself just a little bit that you really believe in yourself, could you think of what that might be? It may be, I have friends that are morphing themselves, and I have one, where we have a congregant right now, has morphed herself into a poet, right? That took courage for her. Courage. It took a lot of courage for her to do that. She knew it was within, she knew it was in her, and it took courage for her to take steps towards it. For me, I knew that comedy was in me, and taking baby steps toward it scared me to death, right? But by doing that, every time I did it, that belief in myself got a little stronger and a little stronger. And so each of you has to decide for yourselves, what are the things that tell you, what is the evidence you already have that tells you that you don't believe in yourself or that you don't feel like you're a powerful person, and let's move those out of the way. And any time that stuff comes up, you've got to be willing to go, huh. Because see, the other thing that human beings do is we love to be victims and martyrs. We love that stuff. We love to roll around in our own junk all the time. I always say we don't know why dogs roll in stank. I don't know why dogs do that, right? There's something dead in the yard, you can guarantee your dog's going to go roll in it, right? Well, I can guarantee you human beings will go roll around in their stank all day long too, right? And we don't know why human beings love to do that, but we do. And what we also know is that sometimes our social circles and the way we connect with people is through some of that stank, right? We may see somebody and be like, let me tell you about my day. And we bring that, right? And then, of course, how we connect with each other is, that's right, let me tell you about my day, right? I can top that. I can have a worse day than you. And we can just pile on and really connect on how crappy our lives are. Now, in unity, we don't do that. And to some degree, in unity, we can go the other way, right? Where we're so happy, right? We want to get real. This is real. It's like, does this stuff set off your BS meter? And if it does, what can you start to do that will baby step you into a new belief about yourself? Because that's what this work is all about. And it's not my work, it's being a New Thought student. It's what we do. In Unity, we call it getting to your Christ consciousness. In my work, I call it chipping away at your highest best self. I call personal transformation chipping away at anything that's not your highest best self by practicing progress, not perfection. So allowing yourself grace all along the way to keep getting bigger and better, but knowing you're going to have days when you want to pull the covers up over your head, and that's okay, right? It's just being kind to yourself and giving yourself grace every step of the way. I came up with that definition because I love it when they asked Michelangelo, how did you chip David out of that big hunk of marble? And he said, I just chipped away at everything that wasn't David. I just think that's the most beautiful. I'm like, whoa, right? And that's what we're just chipping away at everything that's not our most authentic expression of the divinity that is within us. Because that divinity isn't just in me and not you. There's not one human born that isn't a divine being, isn't a divine expression of what I would call the universe. And that human experience doesn't feel divine, does it? And when you think of those divine words of energy and love and vitality, and then you don't think of yourself, that tells me that you're not thinking about yourself as a divine being, which is who you truly are. You are not your thoughts, you are not that mind shatter, you are this divine expression of whatever you want to call it, God, the universe. And if you don't believe that, then really your biggest job is to start figuring out what's in my way of me truly believing in myself as a divine expression. And if I was a divine expression, what would I be doing? And for me, that's where now that I have this show done, right, and it's like, I actually did this thing. I did a thing. I wrote a show. I performed it. It actually works. And now I can't deny that is a divine expression of myself. And when people see the show, they know it's a divine expression of myself. When you hear Kelly Hunt play music, you know that woman is expressing her divinity, right? We're just like, oh yeah, right? And you can see that. So for each and every one of you, you have that. What's your divine expression? And what's in the way? What do you have to get out of the way so you can believe in yourself enough to start taking some baby steps and creating your own real truth, capital T truth, which is that you are a divine expression, that there's a power within you that is greater than any circumstance before you. And what I want for you is to wholeheartedly believe in yourself. I'm going to ask Michael to come up. And I'm going to invite you to go ahead and get prepared for meditation and take these thoughts about believing in yourself, this circumstance, the power within you. And Michael's going to lead us into a meditation. I'm going to invite you to, if you're someone who wants to put your feet on the ground, put your feet on the ground. If you prefer to sit with your legs up, whatever your great meditative position is, go ahead and get in there. Michael's going to play, and then I'm going to come back in and take you into meditation.